excelled in literacy and we excelled in math. So it says a lot that when you give kids the tools that they need to be productive, they really take advantage of it.
Hey everybody, I'm Casey Ferran, and you're listening to the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office podcast, Sworn to Serve, with Sheriff Susan Hudson.
Thank you, Casey.
And we have an amazing guest today. We're really excited about this because Byron Goodwin, the director of the Travis Hill School inside Orleans Justice Center and also at the Orleans Juvenile Justice Intervention Center, is doing amazing work in this community. And we invited him on today to share about some of that work. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Case, for having me.
Of course. So for people who don't know, there's actually a school that's run inside the Orleans Justice Center. It's actually a certified school. And tell us a little bit more about the program and why this school is here. So
the program started here in 2017. Prior to 2017, they had the high set program that the Orleans Parish School District was providing for kids. But then we soon realized that we were violating a lot of kids' rights because of IEPs and certain disabilities, where kids also had time and had the right to be educated through their 21st birthday. So we did some data checking and scanning with kids, and we found in 2016 there was over 400 residents that qualified for school because of their disabilities. So 2017, Orleans Parish School District transitioned from high set programs to a regular educational school. So now, 2017, we're actually offering all the services that a kid would get into a community school. So all your subjects, music, PE, art, foreign language, dual language. We get some kids, especially our kids that come in that doesn't speak English. So we also work with our EL population to get them acclimated into school to, try to build their capacity.
Mm-hmm. And Sheriff, this school, I know you've taken it under your wing because you enjoy the work and you support the work that they do. What's the role this school has played in creating maybe structure in the lives of the people who are here in the system?
Oh yeah, when you get a chance to talk to the school kids and their children compared to me, it's just an amazing transformation. They have something to do, which is important. They have something to look forward to, so that's hope. And many of them have been through so many circumstances when you actually hear their stories that you're amazed that they can now sit down and concentrate and graduate from these schools after all that they've been through. So it means a lot to me that our children go to school, especially since most of them are African American children. It's important to me that they go to school, and so I'm all in on supporting Director Goodwin.
Yeah. What's the program in being run in a jail like for them?
So the school inside the jail, like I said, is set up for kids as a traditional school. The kids actually get to transition from class to class as if they were in a community school. They still get the same support. Those that have IEPs that need the special one-on-one services, those kids that are far advanced than some of the other kids, they get to move ahead of some of the other kids. I have a phenomenal staff, and I think what people don't realize is that all our kids are facing something. Mm-hmm. And then the wake of facing something, they still show up every day for 6 hours. They still do the work. They're still graduating. I still get phone calls today or get stopped on the street today from grandparents or parents who say, I never thought I would see the day that my kid would graduate, and I'm grateful for the sheriff because a lot of these kids, when they come into this space, they weren't going to school in the community. School in the community was obsolete to them. Most of them working, you know, being in the community, it's a struggle. They're in survival mode, so they're doing everything that they can to survive, which ultimately have them end up here. So for those kids to be that resilient, to come into the space, deal with their legal situations, deal with what's going on at home, and still push through every day to do the work is phenomenal. But I think the biggest piece of the school is from the sheriff, you know, allowing us to have a school pod, you know, where now all the kids that are in school are in one space, so they're now able to help each other. They keep each other focused, and you know, it's just it's amazing when you can come in and you have these kids, and I call them kids, you know, and 20, 18, 19 that are sitting in a classroom and they're like 12-year-olds, you know, because they're in a space where they're with staff that truly love them. They're with staff that appreciate them. They're with staff that respect them for where they are, you know, and we are a restorative school, so we believe in trying to restore kids, you know, trying to help them repair whether they have issues internally inside the building, whether they have issues with family members or whatever it is. We do our best to try to support that whole kid, you know, and we definitely could not do this work without the sheriff's office. Yeah. You know, with the sheriff providing us the daily deputies, providing the support, you know, anytime there's a need or there's something that has to go on, you know, the sheriff is always on point with getting us the things that we need, you know. So, and that's, I think, the one thing that people have to understand. We are the only school inside of a pre-adjudicated facility in the United States. There is no other traditional high school inside a jail. You kids don't usually get school until they get to a DOC facility, to where then they're only offered high set or some type of literacy program. This is the only facility in the United States that has a regular traditional 9 to 5 high school in it, where kids are actually graduating with Louisiana State certifications.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, so it's bigger than what people think. You know, and with the other piece that I think people need to know is that in most of these facilities, nothing happens without the support of the facility. At any given time, the facility can say, no, we're not doing this, and it shuts it down, and it puts that wall to where you're not able to educate the kids. You know, but in this space, you know, the sheriff passion is educating. You know, kids being in school, you know, kids getting some form of education. So it just makes my work easier to get kids in a space and to get kids to that point to where they are graduating or developing their skills better than what they did when they came in.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, when we met originally, when I got into office, I heard a lot. And what I heard was that, and I want to give credit to the former sheriff for making sure this could be created. I didn't create it, but I'm all in on it.
Yes, ma'am.
And for the hard work that Director Goodwin and the whole team does, it's just amazing. But when I got into office, I found out we were using school, taking school away as a punishment. School is a right. It is a right. And these were African American deputies and supervisors telling African American children, taking school away from them.
Yes.
That broke my heart, and it made me angry. And so, as I am a product of parents who were born at the end of the Jim Crow era, and had to fight for good schools for their parents had to fight for good schools. My grandmother had to fight for proper equipment and books and all for them. And now, it's here, it's available, but we want to deny it to children. That is absolutely unacceptable. And so one of the things that I just want to give so much credit for, to Mr. Director Goodwin for, is they give me the statistics every day. I know every day how many children go to school. I know the percentage, I see it every day, I look at it every day. And when that percentage gets down too low, now we're short-staffed, so there's going to be some hiccups. But when it's getting too low, I know it's not a priority for my team. I have to get it back to the top of their priority list, right? The children have to go to school. And so I'm grateful for that. We even know why they don't go to school, and sometimes there's some disciplinary or something going on. But by and large, I've made it very clear to the Chief of Corrections that children must go to school.
And you also mentioned dedicating a pod just for them to have a safe space and a space for them to develop together rather than being deterred by some of the things happening in other pods or in the jail. So how does that impact?
A lot. You know, because, you know, you put like minds together, you know, and when you have kids on other floors, the distraction is there. You know, when you're going to school and then once you go back to your living unit, you know, if those guys are not, or young ladies are not in school and you're trying to study or trying to get your rest, you know, it's hard to do. But being on the school pod, everybody has the same mindset. Everybody has the same goal, and the goal is to get school and graduate. So it's phenomenal. You know, it works very well.
And the pride they have in it. We came through, we were filming something else, and I asked them to lock down because we needed to come film some stuff. And they were out, and they were willing to do it. Afterwards, I went through and just talked to them and said thank you. I think we get them some cookies, some different things. Just said thank you for letting us be able to do that, because this was their time to be out. And I went by, they wanted to show me their report cards. There's one young man, I'll never forget, he's a math whiz. You know, I'm like, I can't do math.
Yeah, exactly.
I have 2 degrees, I can't do math, okay? So proud of him. And he was so happy to show it to me. This young man had 2 or 3 children. He's 20 years old, had 2 or 3 children, and he's just now getting his education. So, and I think his first time he became a father was 15.
Yes.
So, you know, these are, and then to see him like a school kid just being so excited about getting his grades, that could be the difference when he does get out in being able to take care of his children. Being able to, you know, support his family. So it really, if that doesn't get your heart, you don't have one. You just don't.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you talked about the kids' grades, but the school is excelling locally and nationally, having some major wins and accomplishments. Tell us about those and what ways that's kind of acknowledging the work you're doing.
So this year on our school performance score, we had a grade of a C. We've carried a C probably from 2016 up until about 20, and then in 22 we took a turn. We ended up with an F, and that's largely because of, you know, COVID slowing a lot of stuff down, you know, being in the facility, you know, having the access and everything. So it took a toll, but this year it took a turn for the best. You know, so we are now a C school. I think the biggest part outside of being a C school that I am most proud of is that our dropout rate was a F, and it was more like a 23, I believe, and now our dropout rate is a 98%, and we are A, which means that inside the facilities we are providing education to every kid that is able to have the education, and we also doing the same thing inside the community. So one of the things we do is that any kid, whether they're in this facility or JJIC, if they leave to go home, I have a community team that tracks every kid. So we get them re-enrolled into school if they haven't graduated. We get them enrolled to mental health service or any type of services that they need to help them further themselves while they're home. Our young people that end up going into other facilities, we still support them in that way, where we still contact the facility to check on them, to make sure that I work a lot with DOC educational component to make sure that a lot of our kids that left here that were either close to graduating or still wanting some form of education, able to get them transferred to facilities that provide educational services, you know. So this year, I mean, and like our score jumped 28.5%. We had the largest growth in the district this year from that standpoint, you know. So it's rewarding when you see that and you know the work that's being done inside the facility. You know, because even though we were an F last year, that didn't speak about the work that was being done inside, because the work was still being done. But to get this score this year, along with the work that's being done, now the community understands and sees that, hey, they are, you know, these kids are really working. You know, so yes.
Didn't you also get some award for the best alternative school?
Yeah. Yes. So we ended up getting a comeback campus in Louisiana, and we were one of 41 schools, but we were the only school in this area, which included all your community schools, and we were the only alternative school to actually win this this accomplishment. And what that means is that our ACT scores grew by 2.9%. We excelled in literacy and we excelled in math. You know, so it says a lot that when you give kids the tools that they need to be productive, they really take advantage of it.
Yeah, and it is a great environment. You go into the school, you know, it looks like a school.
Yes.
It doesn't look like a jail anymore, which is, I think, good for them to be able to
Yes.
get away for a minute
That's
from
right.
that. So it's fantastic.
And when you look at the age of some of the people in our city who are committing crimes, they're seeming to be younger and younger. Why do you think programming like this is so important to youth in our city?
Well, the reality is that we as a society always say that the community has to rally to change what's going on in the community. But I think what people miss is that the community is made up of families. And as long as we have broken families, then we'll never have a dedicated community to really grow. You know, so one of my missions is, especially with our kids, is to work with the families, you know, work with the kids. You know, it's amazing when I get a kid at 18 and get school records, and I'd be like, this cannot be right. And talk to the kids, and no, I ain't been in school since 2nd grade.
Wow.
You know, so, and that's our reality, you know, and most of it is because kids are in survival mode. So when you have 8, 9 siblings, you in a single parent household, mom has to work, dad may not be around, dad may be incarcerated, mom may be incarcerated, grandmothers are raising kids, so kids actually end up raising themselves, you know, and they don't get structure, unfortunately, until they come into this space. You know, they come into this space and now they're in a safe space because now they're not on the street worried about somebody coming up behind them or something happening to them. They get them 3 meals a day, they get love, they get education. So they get everything inside this space that they don't get in the community. We just have to figure out some kind of way to get this to them in the community where they don't have to come into this space to get it, you know. So the goal is, you know, for me has always been to try to find the best strategies to really like support these kids. So I have a community staff. Like I said, we track every kid that comes into this facility or to the juvenile facility. My staff goes to all the schools. We go to community events, whether it's football games, basketball games, whether it's just going to sit on the kid porch, you know, to gain that trust. Recently, we won the Aspen Challenge. This past year, and with the Aspen Challenge, you know, we were in this program where they gave you 5 options to choose from, and the option we choose was the mental health. And for me, one of the reasons for choosing mental health is that we end up in a lot of our circumstances because of mental health, you know, so who better to be able to tell the story than the kids who are in this space who deals with this every day. So we were the first and only alternative program that Aspen has ever offered to participate in this program. First time participating, we started a month and a half behind all the other schools. There was 20 of us, and we were the first alternative program in, and the first alternative program to win first place in this, which spoke volume for our kids. You know, it gave them a stage and a platform to be heard. You know, because one thing we do believe in our space is that our kids have a voice. You know, so and what we try not to do is muffle their voice. So we allow them to have a voice and to say, you know, what they feel is best for them. But you know, as adults, we're always trying to tell kids, do this, but who knows themselves better than the kid? So winning that Aspen Challenge and focusing on the mental health, we have now started offering mental health services to our kids in the facility, to our kids and families when they go home. So we're doing a lot, and I can't be more proud of the kids.
Yeah, I'm so proud of the work that y'all do.
Yes.
And just to see the impact, it's a lot of awards.
Yes.
It's so fantastic. And maybe we can break that cycle of generations coming in here. We see it all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters. I went to the grand opening of the Daughters Beyond Incarceration building last night. And, you know, the founder, Dominic Johnson, her father is still in prison, 41 years, all of her life.
Yes.
And we had Dr. Ashanta Wyatt talking about her father having died in prison, right? That is, they're lucky to have made it.
Yes.
These children didn't, for all the reasons that Director Goodwin talked about. So now they have a second chance.
Yes.
A second chance. And we have a chance to maybe break that cycle for their kids and get them to emphasize education. I had to go to school every day. I had two parents saying, you will go to school every day. They don't have that. And so if we can just, you know, emphasize this for them, that's tremendous.
When you share so many stories about the people you work with inside the school, the children, what's been maybe one that's had a big impact on you and like reaffirmed why you do the work?
Whew. So I have a kid now who was here. He was one of our first graduation cohort. Went away, did his time, and came home. And while he was here, every day he kept saying he wanted to be a fireman. He wanted to be a fireman. He wanted to be a fireman. So we nicknamed him the fireman. So he finally got out, and we started working with him. He still had the kind of like the fireman idea. So we sat with him, say, look, come on, you know, let's sit down and see what it is that you want to do. And he went from being a pizza person, making pizzas, delivering pizzas. He went from working with this company where they were installing carpets in hotels, and this kid was working 24/7. And finally he sat down with one of my coordinators, and he was like, you know what? I'd like to be a train conductor. And he said it, and we didn't laugh.
Oh, I just did. I'm sorry.
So he was like, it was a joke. And I was like, no, if you want to do this, we can do this. He was like, you serious? And he said, okay. So before that, he applied for truck driving school. He got in, the folks loved him, he passed everything, and then his background came in. And when his background came in, he had the felony, and the trucking company was like, unfortunately, we can't hire you. We got to let you go. So it kind of dampened him, but then my folks were still like, hey, we can still do this other piece. So he applied for the railroads, got on, did the interview, we did the verification, everything for him, and was supposed to start, and then the railroads came back and said, we got to pause. We don't think we can hire you. So my folks was still in contact with the railroad folks, you know, trying to explain the situation and everything. And, you know, they was like, look, just pray about it. It ain't over. We're going to get this. About a week or two later, he called and said, I got invited to come back. So he got invited to come back. He went to Atlanta for a month or two to do the training. So now he's locally in the city on the railroads, learning how to be a conductor for the railroads.
Oh,
you know, so if I had to, you know, graduations are great. And they're exceptional because a lot of these kids will never see graduation. But when you see a kid come out and have all the obstacles that they've had and able to do this, it's one of the ones that just touch you, and it's one of the ones that let the staff know that everything that they have invested in kids and that they continue to invest in kids, you just never know where you're going to touch them at. And you never know where a kid is really taking what you're saying, you know. So that, if I had to give one, that would be one for the books.
How many students have y'all graduated now?
Woo! We have, since 2017, we have graduated about 120 kids. To this day of this year, we've graduated about 6. I have 5 slated for January. We probably have another 5 for May. So just between January and July of next year, we're probably scheduled for another 12 graduations.
Wow.
You know, and we're talking about kids who in the community would probably have never took advantage of this or wouldn't have the access to do it, you know. And that's the thing about it. And I tell folks all the time, you know, you can't give up on them, you know. And trust is a big issue for a lot of kids because they've been let down so many times as far as people saying they want to support and want to help and want the best for them, but when things get hard, you know, you tend to kind of walk away, you know. And that's why with our kids, even through like the disciplinary issues, we get kids that, you know, the facility has guidelines that kids have to follow.
Right.
So even our kids, when they end up going to the hold for disciplinary reasons, they're still allowed to get their work to come to the hold to them. So they're still able to do schoolwork. You know, the deputies still bring them to work. The kids are still filling out the work. So the one thing, if I had to say, you know, especially about the facility, even when the kid is in the hold, the facility still has not denied education. You know, they're still giving them an opportunity. And I think the kids, when they see that, they understand that, okay, they're still trying to get me to do this. They're still pushing, you know, so you get a lot of them that come out and say, you know what, I ain't going to the hole no more. You know, because, you know, y'all are doing this for us, so we need to in turn do everything we can the right way, you know. So it's you know, it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
That's fantastic. I'm just, all this stuff just, my heart just,
Oh man.
Yes.
I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
Yes.
When you think about the fact that, you know, some of these they're still offenders, what does a high school diploma do for them, for giving hope?
So high school diploma, one, for a kid, gives them something that in their mind they figure that they would never attain anyway. Most of them feel like they would have never gotten a high school diploma. So giving them that, you will see the smiles on their face. It changes their whole dynamic of how they react and how they communicate to folks, because they've actually obtained something that a teacher or somebody in the community once told them that you will never be able to do this. But on top of that, getting a high school diploma here, if they have to go upstate to other facilities, then it puts them in a place to where they're ahead of a lot of the guys that are in the facility, because in order to get into programming, college courses, and some of these other skills that they'll need to be able to get into some of these reentry programs, you got to have a high school diploma or a high set, you know, and them getting that high school diploma just kind of catapults them ahead of a lot of these guys that's going into the facility. So it's more than about just getting them that diploma here, because they also have to take that with them where they're going to help support and navigate the rest of their lives.
Now, after they receive that high school diploma here, some of them still are here awaiting trial.
Yes.
How do you fill the gap?
So with the kids that have graduated that are still here, we do a lot of trade programs with them. So they do OSHA, they do CPR, or they still do college courses. We work with these programs where we have contractors that do Zoom, where it teaches them how to do electrical work and carpentry, healthy eating, healthy living. We have programs where our young men that may have kids teach them how to be a better father, how to be a better mother. You know, so one thing we realize is that they're still here, so our goal is to still support them in any way we can. You know, so we come up with a lot of creative ways to still support them in that avenue.
And Sheriff, I know there's part of the population that does not get that inside this facility. What are some of the initiatives in place to maybe further the reach to those who can't go to the school?
Yeah, we're going to use the funds that we got from Congressman Carter to work on reentry while they're here. So we want to be able to do some of the same things. Some of the older folks want to go to school.
Yes.
You know, they can't go to that school. So we need to work that out to where we can get our community to come teach and give them some hope in that way. The same things you talked about. We, one of our initiatives is we have folks who work in our kitchen, residents who work in our kitchen. We are now allowing them to be able to come work for our food vendor afterwards. Depends on what their, you know, crime is and so forth, but allowing them to come out and work for them once they get out of jail. So they can work while they're here, learn a trade, and then be able to feed their families when they leave. Mm-hmm. So we're giving them that opportunity. All I have to do is agree to let them do that because they have a record, and I have to be able to do that. So they're investing in us and we're investing in them. Yeah. It's a good thing.
Well, it's been a pleasure to learn more about the program. Is there anything else you'd like people to know about what you're doing in the community or the work being done here in the facilities?
I just think that, you know, it's just good for people to know that inside of this space and inside the juvenile space, you know, that there is truly real education going on. I have magnificent staff. And you know, I have staff that are certified through the hills, you know, and it takes a special person to do this work, you know, and from a community standpoint, education is already hard all over the United States. You know, everybody is struggling, so if they're struggling to get teachers in the community space, it's doubly hard here, you know, so to just continue to support the school district, continue to support the sheriff, continue to support Dashelle Williams back at the juvenile facility. Because like I say, the work that I do would not exist if it wouldn't be for the partnership of the sheriff and Dashelle Williams back at the juvenile facility. Because at the end of the day, we're in their space, you know, but they're so invested in the work that we do. It makes my day and my life a lot easier because I don't have to fight with nobody. You know, I just have to fight with kids to say, hey, come to school, come and get this education. You know, so we still have a lot to come. You know, we're doing a lot in the community. Got a lot of initiatives that we're working on. The district is doing a lot. You know, I think one of the initiatives to come, I'll give you a sneak peek, is with Larry Nance with the Pelicans. Mm-hmm. You know, he's doing this hunger, food insecurity initiative with the high schools and with the district on trying to overcome food insecurities. Mm-hmm. You know, and I learned something meeting with them last week. We are the second city in the United States. We are number 2 in the United States when it comes to our community, our families not having access to food. And his thing was, we're in a city that gets joy behind food.
That's right.
We get influx of tourists that come in, you know, when food, but yet we still have a large population here who don't have access to it. You know, so I'm really looking forward to this initiative and working with them on this. So I'm one of the ones that I'm a forward thinker. I'm always looking down the line. So, there's a lot more to come.
And we'll be staying tuned. We
right.
thank you for sharing that sneak peek. We look
Yes.
forward to seeing that initiative
Yes.
play out.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the work you're doing here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for impacting so many lives in the custody and out there in the community.
Yes.
And, if you want to learn more about Travis Hill School, you can definitely reach out to them on their website, Travis Hill NOLA.
www.travishillnola.org.
Thank you, Byron. Thank you, Sheriff. And thank you all for listening. And if you want to learn more about this podcast, follow us on Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And thank you for being a valued listener.